Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be getting the Durango Hellcat rollable again because next week I'm taking her over to the body shop to get that front strut tower a little bit straightened out or see if it's tweaked. I'm not exactly sure, but we need to have her rolling. I also need to finish pulling the rear wiring harness because it got cut in the accident or kind of chafed in the accident. So I'm going to replace it with a brand new one. But to do that, you have to drop the rear subframe down, pop all the clips down, and then we can get that wiring harness out of there and get it ready for the new harness. So I need to get a bunch of stuff ready so she could go over to the body shop, and then once I get her back, it shouldn't take too long because it's just going to be a slight pull and measure, but then I could get the engine bay painted. I also got a bunch of the parts that I needed for the Durango Hellcat from a local dealership that I'm working with. Their website is buymoparparts.com. I'll put a link in the description. The prices are super cheap. They're most likely going to beat any of your local dealerships, and even with shipping, it's just more convenient than having to go through your local dealership. Check them out. Link is in the description. Let's start going through all these parts that I just got, try to figure out what we're missing and what I can do to get this Durango back running and driving. One thing I have been waiting on for about 8 months from Dodge Corporate to fill this order is the brand new Durango Hellcat dash. Look how nice that looks. And then we should have, these should be the wheel flares I was missing. We should have a bunch of airbags. I have brand new carpets because the other ones kind of got damaged. I wasn't really paying attention and got some slight burn marks on the edge. They're probably fine. Nobody would ever see that because the trim covers it, but I know it's there. The carpets aren't that expensive. I'm not exactly sure what this is. It's pretty light. I'm not exactly sure what this is. It's kind of heavy, but yeah, let's get all this stuff in the shop. Went through everything that came from the Dodge dealership, and I'm super excited because a bunch of stuff that I've been waiting for like 8+ months on has finally come. So I finally have a brand new Durango Hellcat dash pad. And all I'm waiting for to put that together is the wiring harness. So to get the dash pad put back onto the frame, you have to put the wiring harness on it first. Then you have to put all the airbags and all the sensors that bolt onto the back of the dash on there before you can put it onto the frame, because then you can't get to those once it's on the frame. So once that wiring harness comes, I can put the whole dash back together and back in the Durango, which is going to be awesome. But unfortunately, not a lot of parts came for the charger. I was waiting for the heater core hard lines as well as the soft lines. They're supposed to be here today. They were pushed back till Tuesday. So hopefully Tuesday they come, because I wanted to get the Hellcat engine into the charger finally, but I don't want to rush it and then have to lift the heavy supercharger over the fenders or over anything, because I don't want to risk damaging something. So that'll be here Tuesday. We can get the supercharger on. One thing that I was waiting for the charger was an oil filter housing. So there's an issue. On the Trackhawks, the Durango Hellcats, the oil filter sits right over this power steering rack bolt, which isn't a problem in a Trackhawk or a Durango because the engine sits like 5 inches higher than it does in my charger. So when I put the engine into the charger, the oil filter will unscrew, and it's loose, but that bolt's there and you can't pull it out. If I wanted to, I probably could, clearance that bolt down, because it's a really thick bolt, probably like a 1/4 inch, and then I'd have no issues. But then all the oil would leak all over the power steering rack, which on the Durangos and the Trackhawks, they have this weird little stupid spigot out of plastic. It just fits right over that bolt. You can see it sits right there. And I didn't want to do that. So what I ended up doing, and it took me a lot of research because these just came out. This is a TRX 90 degree. It's probably not 90 degrees. It's probably like 85 degrees, but an 85 degree oil filter housing, which is very convenient. So instead of using the banjo bolt that goes through here, it just uses the 3 bolts like the 5.7 and the 6.1 Hemis. And then it's 90 degrees. So instead of going straight down, it's going to give me a lot of clearance. The oil filter is going to sit like right here, which is going to be awesome. And then it has this really nice spigot, so I won't be having to worry about oil getting on the pan, oil getting on the power steering rack, oil getting all over the place. It's just going to be very convenient. I can change the filter, wipe that off. It's going to be very nice. Another plus is I was thinking well, maybe I could do like a remote filter mount system or some BS. I didn't really want to get into it because it was just going to be super intricate. There's already a factory oil cooler in the car that works perfectly fine. The great thing about the T-Rex is the oil cooler line ports clip in just like factory because it is a factory Hellcat part, and it's at the exact same angle, so I don't have to modify the lines. Everything's just going to bolt right in. So I'm going to put the part number for this assembly in the description, so if somebody needs this, and I'm probably going to end up ordering another one, so when I put the engine into the Durango, back into the Durango, I could have this instead of this plastic thing. I really don't like the plastic thing at all. So we're going to get one of these for the Durango as well, and it's going to be awesome. I'm so happy about the dash. So, and not just the dash, I got this piece of trim right here. So my trim, what ended up happening was, I think in the accident, somebody's key or nails hit the button, or when they're pressing the button, they pretty much just cut the leather, which kind of sucked. And then I have a brand new flare, and then we have the carpets. So unfortunately, when I was doing all the welding, I had the carpet covered up with a welding blanket, but somehow on the edges, the carpet got burned in certain places. It was going to be covered up with trim, but I knew it was there and I didn't want to leave it, so I ended up ordering new carpet. Well, I just found out that the carpet in the second row, the rear, which is this one, is $1,000. We have this other part that's like 1,800 bucks, I think, or something like that. Look at this dash. Whew. Brand new dash, brand new trim. We can finally put the forged carbon fiber piece back in. Oh yeah, I'm super happy. And then we have the trim right there. I can't wait to start putting stuff in. I still don't have the brand new seat back, so I ordered a driver and passenger seat back, so I didn't have to worry about restitching where it blew out. I really didn't feel like dealing with that, so I just ordered the whole assembly. Plus, it like pushed all this over, and it, even if I stretched it and restitched it, I've done it in my Volvo before. It looks fine, but it always like starts to come back kind of because it's always been exploded. So it just was easier. The seat backs I think were like $800 or $900 a piece, but we'll have those eventually. And we have the carpets, we have all of our airbags, steering wheel airbag, one curtain airbag, the seat airbags, the knee airbag, and then some other airbag, I don't know. But that's all I was able to get, which doesn't really help me much because I'm still waiting on a bunch of, I'm waiting on the fender, the hood. We'll have this thing over to the body shop next week. I need to call the guy tomorrow because he told me to call him Friday and get everything, get the date set up, get this thing towed over there. It should only be over there for a day, and then we'll be able to bring it back over here and I can finally get this engine bay painted. But what I want to do today is I want to get the brake lines all pulled, all the heater hose lines pulled, and the AC lines. And then I want to get this subframe right here pressure washed, get the new lower control arms on there, get everything cleaned up. I'm going to remove this. I'm also going to take the engine mounts off of the Hellcat engine, put them on here because I don't need to be on there. And then I'll probably get this back in the car. Then after that's in there, I'll put suspension on there. We'll put probably just spares instead of the wheels on there. And then I can get the front down back on the ground. Then I'll lift the rear up, pull the rear subframe down. And all I need to do is get the brake lines, fuel lines, this wiring harness down, and then we could get everything back up in there so she's rollable. I now have the subframe back in the Durango, as well as the new lower control arms, new knuckles. I want to put the Black Ops AutoWorks upper control arms on this, but I'm waiting until I paint the engine bay because I have to pull everything back out of it so I don't get overspray on it. Plus, there's a bunch of areas around the subframe. Since it comes up so high, it would be almost impossible to paint with it in there. So we'll go to the frame machine, get everything straightened out over here. It's pretty close. Like I showed you, I just didn't want to have this. If I was just in a backyard or was just kind of rushing this to get it done, I could just drill this hole over and put the bolts in it, and nobody would know the difference, because when there's no tension on it, it's fine. But if you push it over to line it up to that hole, then it starts to get all tweaked out and it doesn't line stuff up. So I want to have this pulled over, most likely to get it in the correct position. We're going to put the laser alignment system on here. So what I think is going to happen is we're going to just pull from this bar and then pull it kind of down at an angle. And we're going to check to make sure the strut tower hasn't moved. I don't think it has. I just think pretty much this frame horn just barely got tweaked over, just a hair, which they did. It looked like they did hit a pretty substantial sized deer when the accident happened, and then they did whatever to the back of it. But we'll get all of this sorted out when we take this over to the frame machine. Before I finish up this video, I need to get everything cleared out of the Durango. I now have the brake lines, the fuel lines, the evap canister, and all the lines for it, all the AC and rear coolant lines, and it was quite a bit of work. So I had to end up dropping the subframe all the way down to be able to remove those lines. As well, it has this wiring harness. I do not understand why it's routed as it is. So this comes off of the passenger side, but then it goes over the driver's side for like the fuel tank and fuel pump, the LSD module, and a bunch of other stuff underneath the car in the rear. So on Chargers and Challengers, they have a nice access panel so you can get to the fuel pumps, which is really, really nice, because when you need to change a fuel pump, you don't have to drop the fuel tank. And to drop this fuel tank, it's actually kind of a nightmare, because you have to disconnect a bunch of evap lines, and it's just so much stuff. So to change the fuel pump, you would just have to go through this whole headache. But not just that, there is no reason to have all the wiring on the outside of the car, or all that wiring underneath the car, because it could just be like the Charger and have a little grommet, because they already have stuff going to the outside of the car. There could be a grommet over here, and the wiring could just pass through, and you wouldn't have so much redundant wiring. So what I'm going to do now, since everything is disconnected, the subframe is pretty much, it's all bare. It has nothing really connected to it. It has a diff and all that stuff, but besides that, it's just going to be rollable. So this whole thing will be able to go over to the body shop, to the frame machine. But when I get it back, I was looking at everything, and what I'm probably going to do is, when I reassemble this, so I'm going to we'll spray the engine bay, the interior, and then I'll get this over on the lift, because I should have the Charger in a sort of runnable state, and then I could pull the subframes back down, and then I'm going to just do exactly what I did with the Charger and undercoat the whole bottom of the car, so it's in that nice semi-gloss Raptor. The wheel wells, wherever I don't get paint, is going to get the Raptor, and it'll just protect it, because I plan on having this for quite a while, and since it's already not the original color, it doesn't really matter if I Raptor it or not. The rear subframe is now 100% bolted back into the Durango, and we're ready to take her to the body shop. So it is Thursday today. Have to wait till Monday, but I just wanted to get everything done on this beforehand, so it wasn't Sunday and I was having to rush everything to get everything back in here. So I'm very happy that she is ready. I cannot wait to have her fixed, then be able to paint the engine bay, be able to paint the stuff in the interior, and start putting all the stuff back together once the engine bay is painted, because there is quite a bit of stuff that I had to remove to do this. So once she is painted, we'll be able to pretty much just throw everything back in her. One thing I am going to end up doing, I was contemplating it, but now it's going to be a reality. I'm going to Raptor the bottom of the Durango just so she has that extra layer of protection. And it's just one of those things that I like to do. I like to have that extra layer down there because it protects everything from rust and, you know, water and rock chips. And it just is, you know, it's a car that I'm going to keep, so I don't want to have any issues later on down the road. But I'm going to end the video here. If you like these videos, make sure to click the subscribe button, thumbs up, throw a comment below. As always, see you guys next time.